our city must start moving again. The veins of our economy are our trains and buses. And if we don't get people, passengers, back flowing through the arteries, we are not going to have our city open and running. Weekday subway ridership is down 70%. We need New York to work, and that's why we're here today. It's okay to get back into the system. Getting our subways and buses moving again is integral to the revitalization of our economy and the survival of our small businesses. It's time we put people in the system. It's time to move forward with a real plan to get New Yorkers back to work. Observing all public health protocols to ensure the protection of passengers and the people in the city. We want to walk away with 4 things. 1, we know that the subways are safe if riders wear masks and maintain social distancing. 2, if people trust the subway, they will return to their office and their employment environment. 3, if they return to office buildings, the restaurants and the stores in our commercial centers will reopen. And 4, when people and businesses reopen, people are rehired. That is how we get the city back up and operating. Listen, we've all been traumatized by COVID-19. It has been challenging and it has been difficult. But let's be clear, we're New Yorkers. We respond, we're resilient. And the clear indicator of our resiliency lies below ground on our subway tracks and above ground on our buses. Thank you so much. Good morning, actually. I am Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and I'm joined by various leaders and actually by New Yorkers who are concerned and want to see our city move in the right place, in the right direction, as together we are going to ride our subway system to send a very clear and loud message of our city must start moving again. Our economy has suffered an unprecedented shock from COVID-19. 16% of New Yorkers are unemployed. We're dealing with real food insecurity issues. Most office buildings are still vacant. Over 2,000 businesses in New York City have permanently closed since March 1st. Think about that number. That's a substantial number. It's projected that 1/3 of all small businesses in the city will close permanently by the end of the pandemic. The IBO projects the city will have a $4.5 billion budget hole for fiscal year 2022. This economic downturn has ripple effects throughout our entire city and every community and every block. And let's be clear, the veins of the body of our economy are our trains and buses. They determine the lifeblood of this city, and if we don't get people, passengers, back flowing through the arteries, we are not going to have our city open and running in an effective way. Weekday subway ridership is down 70% compared to pre-pandemic ridership. We need New York to work, and that starts with dispelling the rumors, and that's why we're here today. Loud and clear, our subways are safe. It's okay to get back into the system. Today, according to the studies in the United States and around the globe, there are no indicators that mass transit ridership increased COVID-19 spread. The American Public Transportation Association found no direct correlation between public transit and COVID-19 spread, either in New York or globally. So let's dispel the myth and the rumor that you can't come back to the subway system. As long as people are wearing a mask, limit speaking, or any other methods that emit or release particles, our trains and buses are well ventilated. Public transit is relatively safe, and that's so important for us to hear. Getting our subways and buses moving again, it is integral to the revitalization of our economy and the survival of our small businesses. A fully functioning transit system and COVID-19 recovery go hand in hand. We can't have one without the other. They both go together. And when you look at what the MTA is projecting, they're projecting a budget deficit of $16 billion through 2023. Of course, we need the federal government. We need assistance from the federal government, but at the same time, increased fare box revenue will also assist in closing this budget deficit. So our message today is loud and clear. It's time we put people in the system. It's time to move forward with a real plan to get New Yorkers back to work. Observing all public health protocols to ensure the protection of passengers and the people in the city. So we want to walk away with 4 things. 1, we know that the subways are safe if riders wear masks and maintain social distancing. 2, if people trust the subway, they will return to their office and their employment environment. 3, if they return to office buildings, the restaurants and the stores in our commercial centers will reopen. And 4, when people and businesses reopen, people are rehired. That is how we get the city back up and operating and function in a manner that we know New Yorkers can function. Listen, we've all been traumatized by COVID-19. It has been challenging and it has been difficult. But let's be clear, we're New Yorkers. We respond, we're resilient. And the clear indicator of our resiliency lies below ground on our subway tracks and above ground on our buses. When we fill our trains and buses in a social distancing manner with face covering and proper protocols, we can get the city back up and moving again and have a vibrant economy that New York is known for. And so I want to call on my friend and councilman, the leader of the Transportation Committee in the City Council, our chair, Councilman Ydani Rodriguez.
Well, thank you, the great Borough President Eric Adams, someone that no doubt, have been dedicating his whole life, to improve the living condition of all New Yorkers, not only here in Brooklyn, but throughout the 5 boroughs. As someone, as the Borough President said, I've been chairing this committee of transportation like for 5-6 years. It's clear that when I took the train this morning to come to Brooklyn, the A train, riding the train, my memory was around how there we have a federal government that doesn't get it, that the city is not begging for their financial support, that the city is demanding the financial support, and that this should be a bipartisan initiative. This is not a Democrat or Republican. The MTA is important, not only to the city of New York, but to Long Island, to Connecticut, to Jersey, to Westchester. And where do we build those elevators? Where do we build those trains? We create jobs in those states in the West and in the South. So maintaining the $60 billion capital plan for the MTA is so important, not only for the city of New York, but it's important for the whole nation. We, the MTA, funded by the city and the state, and with the federal government, create jobs nationwide. So we move the economy, not only in the Northeast, but the MTA play a critical role for those hedge funds that they are here in the city of New York, for those corporations that have the headquarters here. So I'm here supporting this initiative, calling not only everyone, especially those in DC. We don't even have to wait. We shouldn't wait for a change in the White House. Getting the financial support should happen now. This is an emergency. We need to rescue the MTA. The MTA, the buses, the train are in risk. And the leadership of the Borough President, together with others, calling to please bring the city back to work. At the same time that we call the federal government to bring the financial resources that we demand, that we have the right to. We contribute more to the federal government than what the federal government contributes to New York City. So this is the formula. We need more resources from DC. Hoy nosotros estamos aquí pidiendo de que se escuche el pedido del presidente del condado de Brooklyn, poner a la ciudad de nuevo a trabajar con la distancia, con todas las precauciones de salud, que la gente le pedimos que continúen usando los trenes, pero que el gobierno federal entienda que se les deben dar los recursos a la MTA, es un derecho, no estamos pidiendo, la MTA juega un papel para mover la economía de la nación y de la ciudad. Gracias.
Thank you, Councilman. And we want to now call on the New York Building Congress President, Carlo Scissura.
Thank you. Thank you, Borough President Adams. And I echo everything the councilman said. But let me give you just some quick numbers. 10% of the GDP of the United States of America, 10% flows through New York City. A little over 20% flows through the New York region. The MTA, the subways, the buses, they are the lifeline of New York, of this region. They are the great equalizer. They are what keeps the economy moving. Were it not for the great expansion of our subway system and our rail system many years ago, we would not be the city we are today. And it is critical that people understand it's comfortable to get on the subway. It's okay to go back to work. Wear your masks, social distance, wash your hands, but go back to work. Go to your offices, fill up these buildings again, shop in your local restaurants. These restaurants, these coffee stands, these small businesses are reliant. They need us, all of us. They need us back. They need us back downtown Brooklyn. They need us back in Manhattan. They need us in Long Island City. These businesses need us. So I echo what the councilman said, what the borough president said. And I will say one more thing about the federal government. It is an embarrassment. It is a horrible, reprehensible moment in our history that the United States federal government has basically told its champion city, its city where 20% of our GDP is the center of the region, and they've told us right now we are not giving you money for the MTA. We are not giving you money for our cities. And let me say this is not a bailout, folks. No one is bailing out New York. The federal government has to invest in the city that gives it its resources. So together, I ask all of you, continue to fight the good fight. Don't ask for a bailout. Ask for what is duly and rightfully ours, an investment in New York. Borough President, thank you for bringing us together.
And I want to also bring on the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce President Randy Piers.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank Borough President Adams for his leadership on not just this issue, but all small business issues throughout the borough and throughout New York City. I want to thank the chairman, Rodriguez, for your leadership and your support always about public transportation and the MTA in particular. I want to thank our infrastructure czar, President Scissura, for his leadership in the building Congress. It's all important as an investment, as he says, but I want to also remember the small businesses and the fact that they employ half of New Yorkers. These employees, these workers rely on public transit, MTA, New York City buses and subways in order to get to work, in addition to the larger businesses in our community, which need to come back. I want to thank all of those workers that each and every day, right here on this bus, put their lives on the line. Recently, I testified at an MTA board meeting. Over 130 workers lost their lives to COVID. Those workers are heroes. The workers that run our subways and our buses each and every day on our behalf are heroes. Those lives that we lost cannot be lost in vain. If we remember our history, it is the public transit system that turned New York City into the economic engine that drove the United States and that drives the world. We will be that once again. We will restore New York back to its glory. We will come back to work. We will ride the subways and buses in a safe way. We will observe social distancing and all the safety protocols. And we once again, as a city, will come together and rise above this pandemic. So thank you again, Mr. Borough President, for your leadership. We appreciate it.
And our last speaker, Strap Hangers Campaign Director, Jackie Cohen.
Thank you so much, Borough President. My name is Jackie Cohen. I'm the campaign director for the NYPIRG Strap Hangers campaign. I'm so thrilled to be here with members of our community, with our elected officials, riding the subway today to show New Yorkers that it is safe, that riders can have peace of mind knowing that they can ride the subway safely. There are over 1 million New Yorkers riding on subways now each day, safely and reliably. But I have a few tips for riders if they're returning to the subway or the bus. A couple things, 3 things that they should do before they leave the house each day. Number 1, make sure that you wear a mask. Mask protects yourself, it protects other riders, it protects train and bus operators. Number 2, you should make sure to wash your hands before and after you reach your destination. Use hand sanitizer. And number 3, and most importantly, call your member of Congress and tell them that they must support a federal aid package that includes funding for public transportation. We've heard now that the MTA is in desperate need of billions of dollars from the federal government to be able to ensure that it can maintain service and keep fares low. Nobody wants to pay a $9 fare in the years to come. So we need our federal government to step in to ensure that New York stays the vibrant, incredible city that it is, and invest in public transit, invest in transit riders, and invest in New Yorkers as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. So we want to thank all of our partners in this initiative, District Leader Pierre, Felicia from Tri-State Transportation Campaign, Stephanie from Riders Alliance, and leaders from Investors Bank, TD Bank, FistServe, Prudential Advisors, People's Alliance, Federal Credit Union, and our clergy member, Reverend Tahaka Robinson.